Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis of oil and natural gas. It is one of my favorite sectors. I think next year it's going to go ballistic. Didn't they say that in Top Gun? We're going to go ballistic, man. Something like that. Anyway, we've got the charts behind me. I'm going to start with oil, go to natural gas, and then work through the companies. Again, this is a sector that I am constantly looking at. I want to add more money to it. Uranium and oil. I think oil, it's going to get there. We maybe have a little bit more sideways motion, but we'll get in the charts. We'll dive into the charts. Let's go into it. This is the daily candlestick on oil. Nice big hammer pattern. We found some buyers all down here. I think it looks great for a potential reversal move from today, but we'll see. Maybe we get back in the pattern. Maybe we do some more chopping sideways. Whatever it does, I'm cool with it because I'm a believer in oil. I think we're going to see some big moves next year when the supply-demand balances really start to tighten up. And if inflation is still rolling hard, I think we're also going to get more adopters, people adopting and realizing that inflation is there, and this is the number one inflation-sensitive asset. So when this thing goes up, it's going to impact inflation itself. It's going to impact interest rates, and then the money will start feeding on itself as more money from bonds rotates in. Natural gas having a strong day today. Good old bullish engulfing pattern today. What I've got in my pattern that I've drawn here, I said we're probably going to move down and move sideways a little bit, and then we're going to move on up. That is a potential possibility with this bullish engulfing that we've got today. So let's hope we can start finding some of our footing here and moving on up. SM Energy, bullish engulfing pattern today. Looking pretty good for a reversal candlestick to move on up. I would have been a buyer today, but I didn't have much money to buy anything with, so I couldn't buy it. But I am fully loaded in it. And I mean, I am loaded in it. This is my largest holding in my portfolio is SM Energy, and it's my largest by a long shot because I overweighted it in the beginning and it made me a whole bunch of money, and I haven't sold a single share. And I think this thing can go far higher than where it's at today. Just to disclose what I am, and this is a bullish engulfing reversal candlestick to potentially move higher. Oil's looking good too with its reversal candlestick, and I'm sure all these have reversal candlesticks like CDEV. It's a hammer pattern. It opened, came down, and then came back up. So the momentum's coming back up. This is a reversal candlestick pattern just over here. So there's buyers underneath this 550 area. I would have bought it today myself if I could sprinkle more in. Crew Energy, I would be buying Crew Energy as well down here. I think it's a good spot. And if it comes back down a little bit more, I would continue to sprinkle in. Cost average in is what I call it. And what this is it's a large downtrend line that we've broken to the upside. It's doing a retest move before a launch. And this is where I like to add in. Yes, when I first opened the channel, we were buying it down here. I said, go ahead. We break through. We do a retest on this big old line. And then we go to party town as this thing goes probably far higher. Now, when you look at this stuff, you always want to look to the left. So when you look, I'll just start some drawing. We've got this thing up here that comes down like that, right? This here is going to be a similar move as this thing walks its way higher in it, probably a similar time frame. Not the same exact time frame, but a similar time frame. I've drawn this and it's all the way at 1140. We are at $1.98. This retest area down here, if you zoom in on it, this is where we want to be buying, is somewhere in this range. I can't tell you if we're going to get a full retest. I don't know. I don't know the future. But this is the area that I like to purchase in because it's a low risk area where you could have very high rewards as this thing could potentially bounce and come back up. Could we sit for a little bit? We could. We very well could. And this area might look similar to this area. We just overran it. And then we said, no, we got to come back. We're going to probably bounce off this $1.96, that $1.94 area because we've got support here and here. and why I would be getting it in, right now if it were me. CPE, again, we've got this big old pattern, inverted head and shoulders. Let me zoom in on it, we're coming back here, right there. We've got some support kind of where it's at. If you look to the left of it, we got support all through here. So hopefully it can hold. Athabasca Oil is another one that I really do like. Here's the big downtrend pattern here. We've broken to the upside. We could do a little bit more of a retest type move, almost get like a inverted head and shoulders type pattern moving on. But Athabasca's got a lot of bounce. And when we break out above $1.90, it could gap higher up to $6.28 when we start seeing, we'll call it shortages, or when the oil market gets really tight. Here's recap. Lots of big up months through here. We've got this, we'll call it a consolidation period that we're going through. Here's our big moves higher. We're consolidating here, kind of like slowly leaking out sellers here before I think a big move happens. And what we're doing is we're just leaking the sellers out. We got boom, 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 little leak off, boom, leak off. And what's going to happen is going to hit this dead period. And then we'll see what happens in January of next year. Northern Oil and Gas, we got a descending wedge pattern upon us. I like buying in these descending wedge patterns. I think it looks good. This is Crescent Point Energy, a little bit of a down day, but it looks like we're getting some support with a little wick at the bottom today. On a big picture view, I always like it when we break these big downtrend lines. We came up. Now we're hitting some resistance through here. We're basically putting in an inverted head and shoulders pattern. And eventually this will break and make everyone happy because it's probably going to be a pretty large move to the upside. The way that I see this too is there isn't much resistance up here. And I think we could get maybe up to $16, $17 pretty quick if we can break out of this pattern, this bottoming pattern here. Big picture view, this thing looks fantastic. Here is Grand Tierra Energy, another one that I own on the channel. It broke this big old resistance line to the downside, and we're still recovering. Still recovering. It looks okay. Got some downtrend lines in the channel. We're just bouncing sideways. Tellurian selling off a little bit. We did break this to the downside. Could be a false breakout. We'll find out. I'm not doing anything with my shares, guys, but this is what it looks like on a big long-term perspective. You break 18, 19 bucks, that's, well, actually, I'd say more like 30 bucks and you're flying. That's a ways away, though. Here is PED, one I've been watching. It is sitting right here on its support line. This is a big old pattern that's basically winding up right in the corner here. We got the volume kicking on. If you guys got some speculative money that at work, you want to do some investigation into PED, Pedivico Corporation, I mean, this thing could be a launcher soon. I mean, an absolute launcher. In fact, I got to write myself a note. I got to get some money in it myself. OAS. It's just chopping sideways. Little down day today. We do have this big trend line coming up. Doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. We've just been chopping sideways. CRK, another one that's got a nice little wick at the bottom. Usually that's a reversal pattern to potentially sideways to higher maybe over the next few days or week. This all highly depends on interest rates and inflation and money rotation. To me, this looks like a fantastic opportunity down here. We've got the breakout, the leak out, a consolidation move, a nice good squeezy, pop to the upside of the squeeze, and then we're doing a retest move, and this is where I like to accumulate. This is the lowest risk area to accumulate, and then you're going to see a big old move higher. Looking at the chart itself, we've got support resistance down here, support resistance up here, and then I think you got a lot of resistance here at 70 bucks. And we'll see if we can get up there. We'll see. SD Energy. We broke this downtrend line. That's where, see how it consolidated here and went into a dead period? I call this the dead period. It kind of is like buyers and sellers equal each other and then boom, breakout. And yeah, we're pulling back a little bit. We're in a little consolidation period here. But it looks okay. It doesn't look bad at all. I mean, could it go lower? It could. But I don't know. It doesn't look horrible to me. TTI is at some support lines. I like buying at support lines right here. So this would be one I would be looking at if you guys like it. It's kind of at the bottom here. Good support going across. And this big old pattern. It's a massive pattern. This pattern breaks, guys. Oh my goodness. And I don't know if you guys understand this on the channel. Like these big patterns here, this thing is coiling up. It fell to the downside from the C19. We came back up into the pattern. It's just chilling here, ready for the taking for a long-term investment. I'm not saying that it's going to be outperforming this second, but getting a little bit of money in this stuff and just holding on for 5 or 10 years, I think this is going to be a massive move when we break out of this pattern to the upside and try to we will probably even break a $30 price eventually down the road. Because you got to buy it when it's cheap. And rig is really cheap too, my lord. It's like falling off the cliff here. We're still down here chopping sideways, going all over the place, very volatilely. Helix has a massive pattern on a big picture view. We're still inside the pattern, and it still probably has a little bit of time before this thing breaks. But, you know, I do sprinkle in just a little bit here and there in some of these big old oil service company patterns. Zbtaf, this is another one. Zoom in on it. It's just at its resistance line. We'll see if it holds the support line. Tamarack Valley Energy, looking at this guy here, squeezing up, and we'll see if we can get a break. I like the volume down here. It looks really good. We kind of fell out of the pattern for C19, came back into the pattern. We're ready to break. Now we just need oil to give us the go. Oil gives us the go. It's going to give us the go on my entire portfolio because I got a lot of energy just in general. Uranium, oil, natural gas, a lot of precious metals and copper and nickel and all these things. Diversified miners and royalties. But I think it looks okay. It looks like we're trying to reverse higher. We'll see what tomorrow brings us. Again, I don't have the crystal ball. I don't want to say that because this is such a short-term thing. But the big picture patterns look fantastic, guys. When these things break, I mean, it's going to be so much fun to ride these things higher and see your accounts go up. In the short term, it's going to feel like things are going down and they're pulling back, and there's no denying that. I'll call it the moronic virus has a lot of fear. And what I'm looking at doing with my mutual fund, my 401k, and I'll tell you the companies that I like. And I'll do another clip. I'll do all ETFs and tell you what I'm going to be positioning in the future. But when I see the fear here, the fear people sell off, I get excited. I want to buy. I'm a buyer, guys. I'm a buyer and a long-term holder of this. Why am I a buyer and a long-term holder? Subscribe to the channel and find all of my videos. I'm going into supply-demand characteristics. I'm going into the ratios showing where money is not at. I go into market conditions. I go into all this stuff, and it just ties together, and I'm just salivating to buy more of these things for a long 10, 20-year hold or whatever it's going to be. I'll have to determine if I think that this inflationary cycle is going to span over multiple real estate cycles, which it very well could. So we'll see what happens. But I like the setups. I think we could potentially be turning here. Doesn't mean it's a bottom. I'm just saying we're going to get a bounce. And we'll see what that bounce does. We'll see if it carries us higher. We'll see if it has to bounce again, if it kind of rolls over. Difficult to say, but we're getting a bounce here. It looks like we're getting a nice hammer pattern to move on up. If you guys like this analysis, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.